Hello and welcome, everyone. My name is Cooley. I'm the Targeted Outreach Director for the California Department of Financial Protection and Innovation, also known as the DFPI. Thank you for joining this webinar. I know it's right at noon, so I'm going to give everyone 2 minutes to get logged in. So thank you for your patience. Let's just wait 2 more minutes for everybody to get in. It's a great, important topic. 2 minutes. Okay. Okay, looks like it's 2 minutes past. Let's go ahead and get started. Again, hello and welcome. My name is Cooley. I'm the Targeted Outreach Director for the California Department of Financial Protection and Innovation, also known as DFPI. Thank you for joining the webinar today. We've got a really fantastic topic for our monthly financial education webinar. Today's topic is how to protect yourself from AI scams. We actually have a lot of people registered to join. So, and again, very important topic. Let's just jump right in. So a little bit of housekeeping and disclaimer here. Your cameras and microphones have been turned off for the duration of this webinar. But if you do have questions or comments, please feel free to submit them into the Zoom's Q&A feature. I do have a dedicated section at the very end of the webinar where I can answer your questions as best as I can. I know a number of you actually submitted questions during the registration process as well, and I'll do my best to answer those. The views and opinions expressed in this presentation are those of the presenter. They do not necessarily reflect the views and positions of the DFPI. This presentation is for educational and informational purposes only. This is not financial or legal advice. And the DFPI does not assume responsibility for the completeness of the information presented in this presentation. Basically, this presentation is the most up-to-date as of this webinar. Because we're recording the webinar and we're going to publish to our YouTube channel, and because technology continues to evolve and get better and more enhanced, these scams may change. AI, artificial intelligence, technology may evolve, and so some of the things that we discuss now may not be relevant in the future. However, as of this moment, this is the most up-to-date of this presentation. If you want more information, you can always visit our website. It's dfpi.ca.gov. We also have, my team also has an inbox that we manage and always respond to. So if you have questions, you want copies of this slide, you could always email us out at outreach@dfpi.ca.gov. And also, just a reminder, we are recording the webinar. We will publish to a YouTube channel. After the end of this webinar, I will be sending everyone who registered for the webinar a copy of the slides, as well as a link to the YouTube video. Okay, let's just want to quickly talk about the DFPI. Who are we? What is our role? What do we do? The DFPI's central purpose, we are California's financial regulator. We maintain a fair, healthy, and trusted financial marketplace for all Californians. We do this by regulating and enforcing a number of California financial laws on a variety of financial services, products, and professionals. We also provide free presentations all throughout California, in person, virtually, just like this webinar, to help inform and protect consumers and to prevent them from falling prey to frauds and scams. If you want more information, we have a dedicated section on our website. We publish news articles, consumer financial education, as well as a list of different events that we do. In person, virtually, please check it out. The link to that web page is dfpi.ca.gov/consumers. Okay. A couple more plugs here. Just plug in the website. Again, we provide free in-person virtual presentations. Our consumer website has a number of consumer alerts, news alerts as well. We have a crypto scam tracker. So if you're interested in crypto assets, please check out the crypto scam tracker first to make sure it's not a scam that you might be investing in. And of course, like I said, we have a list of different events and investor education webinars that we do. You can always check that out. We have a number of free publications that you can download, and we have a YouTube channel, so please subscribe to that. We always publish all of our YouTube channels onto our YouTube channel. Okay, one last plug. I promise this is the last one, but this is very important, and I am pushing it as much as I can. We are offering free online financial education. It's available to anyone and everyone. This free online education is just modules on like budgeting, investing, retirement planning, getting out of debt, building credit, retirement planning, estate planning. So you just got to go to this link, dfpi.ca.gov/learn. You have to register with your email address, but the good thing is it will save your place when you're going through a module. Let's say you're in the middle of a module, you need to leave. You could log out. When you log back in, it saves your place and you can just continue to learn. So again, open to anyone and everyone to learn. Please feel free to share it, register, check it out, get more information to better inform yourself. Okay. Let's talk about artificial intelligence, also known as AI. I know it's kind of the big rage nowadays. AI is a catch-all term. It's for a concept and technology that performs complex tasks that once required human input. And some examples include things like autocorrect and voice recognition, right? That was kind of the very early versions of artificial intelligence, or AI. So things like on your phone, sometimes your email will autocorrect you. And of course, voice recognition and voice typing were early versions of artificial intelligence. And then then evolved to things like facial detection and recognition. And then of course, chatbots. I know many companies nowadays use chatbots to kind of be their first line of consumer response. But that's using artificial intelligence and a large database to generate auto responses, that kind of thing. Of course, search and recommendation algorithms is a form of artificial intelligence, and it's getting better for sure. Using your search history and using a lot of information and data on perhaps you yourself, they could give you better recommendations. The artificial intelligence algorithm, that is. And then, of course, we have the photo and video editors. I would say this is pretty recent, in the last couple of years. Some very prominent photo and video editing software has begun to integrate artificial intelligence to make editing photos and editing videos much better. And of course, that has led to things like text generation, language translation, auto translation, as well as image generators and also video generators, right? So this is the things where we hear a lot about, like deepfakes, right? Deepfake videos. It's taking it, as in artificial intelligence, is taking images, composites from many different databases, and it's making it into one composite, one photo. And same thing for video. You use a prompt, right? So you tell the software, artificial intelligence, what you want, and what happens is the software recognizes your prompts, your keywords, your key terms, and then it pulls from a large database of images, videos, whatever, to help create what you're thinking about. So let's talk about how scammers and fraudsters are using AI. Because again, AI is such a new technology. Scammers and fraudsters are using it in many different ways to enhance their scams, right? And that's kind of the big category. Right now, what a lot, and this is just based from a lot of information from our partners at like the FBI, the SEC, the CFPB. This is a lot of information that they've shared with us. So they use artificial intelligence. Scammers use artificial intelligence to enhance their scams. And the many type of scams they have, they use it to mimic the human behavior, right? Because of sometimes culture and sometimes language. Scammers who are from either a different country or have different cultural barriers don't understand, our culture, our language, maybe our what do you call it, our jargon, right? So they use artificial intelligence to mimic and better understand human behavior and then reply back to us. They use for identity theft. I have a slide. We're going to talk more about how they do that. They use artificial intelligence to deep fake photos and videos, right? This is more for like romance scams, but they do it for anything and everything. So whether you're thinking, whether it's they're using artificial intelligence to generate what looks like legitimate emails or legitimate certifications, or they're using it to generate photos of someone you might know, or maybe they're trying to run some kind of con and they're saying they have a lot of money. Here's a photo of me with all this money, and they're using artificial intelligence to generate that photo, right? So they're also using artificial intelligence to publish fake news. So they use artificial intelligence, they give it a prompt to author, basically draft fake news, and they publish it on like social media, on websites, blogs, whatever. And then they use that fake news to try to essentially back up, right? Back up their claims, whatever it may be. So maybe they're pushing some kind of investment scam, and then they use links to fake articles that they published using artificial intelligence, right? It's essentially kind of like exposure biasm. It's where if you keep seeing a lot of these articles about a certain investment that might be good, then it kind of helps give you like a bias towards it. So again, be very aware of that. We're going to talk how to, of course, do your own research to get around those fake news. And then they use artificial intelligence to create fake accounts. Sometimes creating accounts on legitimate sites like social media or email accounts takes a long time. And so they use artificial intelligence algorithms to actually create those accounts for them, right? So maybe a scammer will create an account, like a profile, and then they'll have a lot of different followers to help make them look legitimate. But all of those followers are fake accounts, right? Fake social media accounts, fake followers, using artificial intelligence to create it and then follow this particular person. And then they use artificial intelligence to automate their attacks. So that's something like hacking, or usually like DDoS attacks, which is multiple attacks on a website. So let's talk about some AI investment scams. Some investments claim to use artificial intelligence to make money for investors. There are legitimate organizations out there that uses an algorithm to help predict. I would say help them make trades, right? Investment trades, help them make educated guesses to what investments are good. But then there are also certain, whether it's scammers or it's other organizations that claim to use AI to, again, make money for investors. So these are usually scams that they don't have AI and there is no trading activity, right? And so the red flags to look at these types of AI investment scams is where they're pushing some kind of crypto asset, right? They're saying that they have some kind of crypto that you could invest in, and look at all this activity, look at how much it's going up. You need to get in while it's kind of on the floor, and it's going to go to the moon, right? So you got to be very aware of that. The other red flag is, of course, claiming that investments are way too good to be true, that there's no risk involved. Every investment has some level of risk, right? Whenever someone tries to tell you that the investment doesn't have any kind of risk, that's a big red flag. And of course, investments that are promoted on social media or on YouTube or other platforms are can be a scam, and we highly encourage you to do your research because a lot of these social media influencers, also known as finfluencers, they try to push their own investments, whether it's crypto or other things, try to increase the value of it, get their followers to buy in. And again, we encourage you to do your research, make sure the investment is right for you. Some investments pay commissions to investors to recruit, and you want to be aware of that as well. Okay, here's an example that was shared to me, by the way, from our enforcement team, the DFPI's enforcement team. In this example, scammers are using artificial intelligence to trick investors. This specific case, scammers use AI to create a fake CEO, a fake video, by the way. This is just a screenshot. So they used the AI to create a fake CEO, also fake audio bit to basically talk to investors to again, encourage them to invest in their product. So be very aware of it, right? Artificial intelligence has gotten really good. And before you just watch a video and become convinced, make sure you check multiple resources before you make that kind of investment. Okay, let's talk about how artificial intelligence mimics human behavior, right? AI powered bots can be programmed to mimic human behavior, making them more difficult to detect. So that could be things like chat, right? If someone sends you a text message and you start corresponding with it, it could be an artificial intelligence chatbot that a scammer is using to generate responses and able to influence you to do something, right? To create rapport, to gather information, that kind of thing. These bots can analyze large amounts of data to determine patterns and generate responses that seem genuine, right? So some examples include things like voice cloning, right? Voice cloning software has gotten really good, and I would say scary good. So I have a video that we're going to watch right after. It's the next slide. We're going to watch talking about voice cloning. Again, talking about text messaging or messaging chatbots. WhatsApp is notorious for a place where scammers can take you. Again, it's a lot easier for them to use WhatsApp to connect with an AI chatbot and again generate those responses to you to again try to influence you to do things. Again, we talked about deepfake photos and videos, right? Videos and photos, and I've heard about this before, where consumers actually got onto a video and they had a video chat with someone. It was low quality, and so they were very skeptical if this person was real. So they got on a video call. The video call was very low quality, but it seemed like the person was genuine. Again, I told the consumer to be very skeptical, right? Especially if it's a romance scam. I always tell them, hey, it's a high probability that it is one. You want to meet the person in person first, right? But yes, AI technology is getting better at mimicking human photos and videos. Again, we talked about publishing fake news and creating those fake accounts. So let's watch a quick video. This video does not belong to me. This actually belongs to CNBC. It's a great video. I share it everywhere. It's about how easy it is for scammers to use voice cloning, AI voice cloning software to mimic someone's voice. So let's go ahead and watch it.
It's a phone call John Bridges will never forget.
I said, "What's wrong? What's wrong?" She goes, "I've had an accident and I need your help."
His daughter panicked and crying before another voice gets on the line.
He goes, "I'm wanting to give your daughter back to you, but I need some cash."
Bridges says he didn't end up giving money to the scammer thanks to his quick-thinking wife, who called their actual daughter to confirm she wasn't being held hostage. But he got close, even grabbing cash from home and driving it to a meetup location.
When I first heard my daughter's voice, I mean, it was my daughter's voice. It convinced me that that was her.
Calls like this have the Federal Trade Commission sounding the alarm this month, warning of advancing artificial intelligence used to simulate someone's voice in imposter scams, the most commonly reported fraud in 2022, with losses jumping to $2.6 billion last year.
It's critical that people are aware of this technology is out there and that it's really very good.
Voice cloning isn't a new concept, but it's becoming more accessible, accurate, and easier to use thanks to AI. Cybersecurity expert Tiago Enriquez, who says he's now seeing insurance claims for this kind of fraud, showed us just how easy it is.
We're going to try and find some audio samples of you.
He pulled videos from my social media and uploaded clips to one of a growing number of voice cloning programs.
So it's literally a matter of dragging and dropping audio clips into this program.
That's it.
Then came typing what to say, and with the click of a button,
I already tried to call the bureau. It was weird no one answered.
Sounds pretty good.
but could I fool a colleague with it?
Are you
Hello?
crazy busy? I forgot my corporate card.
Oh no.
Can I borrow yours real quick? I just need to pay for a few things. I'll get the receipts.
It wasn't perfect. There were delays, and some sentences sounded more genuine than others, but
I gotta run out and get my wallet.
it worked.
Thank you so much. Call you in a bit.
My colleague later stunned by the generated audio's accuracy.
So I pride myself on never falling for that stuff.
Experts say to make sure you don't fall for it, be skeptical whenever asked for money in any form. Don't rely on the caller ID. Those can be faked. And even if it sounds like a loved one calling, hang up and call the person yourself.
Are we going to see an increase in this sort of thing?
I believe we are. As attackers get more familiar with these technologies, what they can do with it, how to operate them, we are going to see an increase in scam attacks.
New technology requiring new lines of defense. Emily Ikeda, NBC News, New York.
So that video, by the way, was published in 2023, 2 years ago. And as you know, technology moves very quickly. So it's been 2 years ago. It's gotten even better from 2 years ago. And I hear a lot of different stories from consumers on getting phone calls from individuals who, again, seem to be family members who are either in distress or asking for money or that kind of a thing, or help. And so it's getting better, it's getting scarier. And one of the things that I tell individuals, especially after showing them this video, for voice cloning software, in my opinion, one of the best ways to kind of get around that is to create what I call a challenge and a passphrase with friends, family, colleagues, that kind of a thing, coworkers. So for my wife and I, we have our own little challenge passphrase. And so whenever we're on the phone, we have this conversation. And then if she starts asking for personal or financial information, I give her the challenge phrase, and then she has to reply back with the correct passphrase. An example of this that it worked practically, it's more historical. If you're a history buff, in World War II, the Americans used a challenge and passphrase as well. So if you're an American soldier, you're on patrol at night, and then someone in the dark comes up to you, you don't know if they're a friend or foe. So you give them a challenge phrase, which was flash. And sometimes they don't hear it, so you have to repeat it. Flash, 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 or I'll fire upon you. And the correct passphrase is thunder, right? So flash is the challenge, thunder is the passphrase. And so it's a friend because it's that pass challenge, that challenge and passphrase that is between the same organizations, between the same people. One of the reasons why they chose that, by the way, just a little bit of historical tidbit, is that the Germans had a hard time saying thunder. There's a bit of an accent there, but that's an example. And I would encourage you, for your friends, family members, to create that challenge passphrase again for the voice cloning, because again, it's getting very good. And it doesn't take much for someone to copy your voice. I've heard stories of where individuals actually have like a voicemail, and the scammer was able to, of course, call them. They didn't answer, so it goes to voicemail, and then they just copy the voicemail message, and it was just long enough. The voicemail was just long enough for them to use that audio to generate a voice. It was kind of staticky. It was very low quality. But again, if you have that challenge of passphrase, they're not going to be able to identify themselves correctly. Okay. So let's talk about identity theft and automated attacks, right? So scammers are using AI to develop malware that could bypass traditional antivirus software. So continually to please update your antivirus and software when you can. This malware can be used to steal personal data, such as login credentials, credit card information, etc. So again, they're trying to get into your computers, and they're using artificial intelligence to, again, try to get around antivirus firewalls. Let's talk about how to identify artificial intelligence. And this was a lot of different questions that I received during the registration. Again, just a reminder though, we are recording this webinar. We will be publishing it to YouTube. If you do have any questions, please feel free to submit it into the Zoom's Q&A feature. We will answer your questions at the very end. So yeah, continue on. Let's talk about some tips to identifying AI. So usually, it used to be AI was not that good at writing, and it's actually gotten a lot better. So in text, sometimes you can expect things like typos, wrong formats, incorrect or outdated information. Sometimes it doesn't get the paragraphs are not strung together or not organized correctly. You have that repetitive words or phrases, or even the tone of voice is off, right? Sometimes when you read AI created documents, it sounds like, it looks like it's a copy and paste from two different places, and it doesn't seem correct. Now, again, the caveat here I want to throw out is that AI is getting really good at writing. And so you want to always double check, whether it's an email, whether it's a text message, whether whatever, it's a letter that was sent to you, you want to double check to make sure, verify that it is legitimate before you kind of take any action, before you click on any links, call any numbers. Again, AI is getting really good at writing, so it's harder to detect. In photos, one of the things you want to look for is things like asymmetrical or physical inconsistencies generated by the AI. So some examples are like strange textures, brushed skin tones, or glossy finish. I will say, again, AI is getting really good, and it's getting harder to detect. And the example I share here is actually a photo, a AI generated photo, by the way, of Pope Francis. And so the previous Pope Francis. And so one of the things that AI does not do well is hands, and that's one you want to look for. So you want to look at the hands. Artificial intelligence does not yet understand hands, right? It doesn't understand the symmetry of our hands, how they look. So here it kind of looks like he's gripping this bottle in a weird way. And again, that's because software does not understand how our hands work and how it's supposed to grip actual objects. That's probably the only way, except for like if you're looking at this cross, you could see one side of it, but it doesn't really come on the other side. So yeah, the point being is it's getting harder, and I think if I zoom in, it might look a little bit waxy. It's getting harder. It's a good, from a distance, it's hard to tell that this is a deep fake photo. But as you zoom in, it's going to be easier to make that kind of detection. But the point being is be very wary of any kind of photos that are sent to you, making any kind of claims. You have to be skeptical nowadays. And then of course in videos, one of the things you're looking for is strange shadows, blurs, light flickers, unnatural body language or body movement, audio issues, sometimes skips in the video. And that's again because artificial intelligence has a hard time understanding things like lighting or movement, human movement, right? And of course audio as well. But again, usually what scammers do is they mask it with like a low quality filter, so it's harder to detect that kind of thing. Again, be very wary. If someone who's trying to have a video conversation with you, but for some reason has very low quality video. Nowadays, as you're very aware, cameras are getting really good. So why would someone have a low quality video streaming to you? I don't know. Just be skeptical, okay? All right, so let's talk about some tips to avoiding AI scams. Use two-factor authentication. It's so important for a number of different reasons. I'll share you my own personal story, which is, so I have a lot of different online accounts, right? So we talk about investment accounts, bank accounts, email accounts, social media profiles, they're all over the place. And so, and I'm sure many of you do as well. And so I used to, terrible habit, I used to use the same username and password for all my accounts because it makes it easy. However, one of my accounts, well, I was notified that one of my accounts had a data breach. And so I went to every one of my accounts and I changed all the passwords and usernames. Took a long while to do, but what made me recognize how important having different usernames and passwords for each account is that I looked at my investment account, I looked at my bank accounts, and I was like, I don't want to lose this money, right? So, and just using additional two-factor authentication is an extra layer of protection. I know it takes a little more time to do, and it's annoying, trust me. But at the same time, it is worth it, right? It is worth that extra level of security, especially if you have those types of investments and assets. Just a couple extra seconds to authenticate yourself is worth saving yourself the trouble, the headache, plus the money that you might lose. Regularly change your passwords, right? You do, I recommend changing your passwords depending on how exposed you are. So if you get a lot of notifications of data breaches, or if you're really afraid, change your passwords like monthly if you can. I would say at the minimum, change it once a year, at the minimum. And then, of course, again, the variation is up to you. Big one here, don't click on any links in emails or messages, right? So if you get a text message from someone, they might send you a phone number or a link to somewhere. That's a big red flag, especially if you haven't verified who they are. And even sometimes when you think you know who they are, right? Emails can be spoofed, as well as text messages can be spoofed, right? And that's where someone is using, again, artificial intelligence or some kind of software to bypass. Also, I heard this from a consumer. One of their friends actually had their phone stolen, and all the contacts was being contacted. So she got an she got a text message from her friend. It was the right number, but what happened is she knew her friend had her phone stolen. So she was like, how are you texting me from the same number? And why are you sending me these links to go somewhere? So again, be very wary, even links coming from friends, make sure it's legitimate, right? Limit personal information you publish on social media or everywhere else online. Again, scammers are using artificial intelligence. They use artificial intelligence to do something called skimming, especially on social media. So they'll use this artificial intelligence to crawl social media profiles, collect things like photos, personal information, again, to help build a profile of either people, they want a deep fake, or maybe individuals that you are related to or know about, friends you might have. It's not that hard to have these artificial intelligence tools to collect this information from not just you, but also people you know, again, to help enhance their scams, right? To help get into, to attack you, essentially. We talked about considering using a passphrase for family and friends. That's to get around that voice cloning software. You want to delete any unused profiles. This is a big one, right? This is one of the things that I'm a victim of as well, right? Having old social media profiles, old emails. I have a really old AOL email account. I started way back in the day, and leaving those around, not closing it, not deleting it, exposes those to data breaches, right? Or hacking, especially if those organizations like AOL no longer keeps up with their security protocols. So now they'll have access to your old emails as well as any kind of contacts you might have. So If you're not using an old email account or old social media profile, if you're not using a streaming account anymore and you don't plan on going back, request to have that account deleted. And by the way, ask them to have all data associated with your account purged as well. And of course, always do your own research, right? We're going to talk a little more about that, but it's so important before you act, before you click on links, before you call someone, do your own research, verify information, right? Before investing in a product, do your research, make sure it's the right product, make sure it's legitimate. And another thing, and we'll talk again more about this, is talking to others, checking with others that you trust. Very oftentimes, scammers try to get you in what we call tunnel vision. They create a sense of urgency, trying to make you move as fast as possible. And when you move fast, as we all know, you tend to make mistakes. You tend to ignore the red flags that you would normally see. But when you talk to someone else, that adds that extra perspective that they can identify red flags that you might miss. Okay, with that, I do want to talk about scams. Again, remember, scammers are using artificial intelligence to enhance their scams, to make them much more believable, right? And I would say 10 years ago, you might have seen some of these scams and you would have not thought about how scammers could use software to make these scams very believable. But let's just go ahead and talk about some of them. So imposter scams, by far, the largest category of scams out there. Scammers are definitely using artificial intelligence to enhance their imposter scams. And I'm going to talk about some examples. So grandparent and relative scams, that's where a scammer contacts you, posing as a grandchild or a niece, nephew, and they're going to say, they're going to have some kind of story like, I'm in a car accident, I'm traveling overseas and I lost my passport, or maybe I'm in the hospital, that's why my voice doesn't sound right. And what I need you to do is I need you to send me money or help me out with some way, right? Please don't tell my parents, please don't tell my uncle, the aunts, uncles, that kind of thing. Those are big red flags, right? If anyone is ever in distress, they would probably want to notify their entire network for help. So that's kind of one of the things that I always tell individuals. The other thing is, if you get one of these calls where someone is posing as your grandson, granddaughter, niece, nephew, the best thing to do is to say, hey, thanks, let me call you right back. And then call them directly, call their parents, call someone they know to try to verify this information first, right? Don't just take their word for it. And by the way, what they do is, as scammers do, they try to create that sense of urgency. Oh, I need help right now. Don't hang up on me. And that's, again, big red flag. They're trying to get you in that tunnel vision where you're going to ignore the red flags, make mistakes. So there's also things like imposter scams and posing as debt collectors, using AI again to create what do you call it? Debt collection letters or notification emails, that kind of a thing. Also, they are posing as government agencies. So IRS, Social Security, Medicare, might be utility company or law enforcement. They're using artificial intelligence to gather the information they need or to pose as these individuals to create things that look legitimate, right? And of course, things like financial institutions. So they might use artificial intelligence to help create a fake website that looks like a legitimate financial institution website. They want you to log in, and when you log in, you're typing in your login credentials to a fake website, right? Or they might use artificial intelligence to find out what kind of banking institution you have, and then they use that information to say, hey, we're your bank, and we want you to call us or at this scam number, or click on this link to verify who you are, that kind of thing. We talked about investment scams. Romance scams is a big one where they use artificial intelligence. Again, if you are active on social media, even if you're not active on social media, they use, again, crawlers, artificial intelligence crawlers, to get on social media to find out who you are, what you like, what kind of person you are, and then they use that AI tool to, again, generate the responses, right? Try to create interest. Or not just interest, to try to get your interest, right? So be very aware of that. Tech support scams all the time. Again, things like copycat websites or fake websites can be created using artificial intelligence. Payment app scams is another one where they're using it to create like money, whether it's like Zelle, Cash App, PayPal, one of those payment apps. They could use artificial intelligence to submit a request for money, or submit a request to send you money, right? And it's completely fake. And then there's like student loan scams as well as employment scams. Employment scams is kind of the big one right now. I know there's a lot of layoffs happening around for various reasons. And one thing that I've been hearing a lot about is fake job listings on job listing sites. And some of those job listings are created by AI, right? Because some of these scammers are not, they don't have the business acumen or maybe the knowledge or experience to create job listings, but they could use artificial intelligence to generate these job listings, and they could use it, AI as well, to make these job listings very attractive to candidates. So I always tell individuals who try to go on these job listing sites, do your research before you apply. And there are, of course, red flags towards different types of employment scams. Okay, so we talked about some of the most common types of scams. How can you protect yourself? I like to share the different layers, the 6 layers of scam protection. And the first layer is do not respond to scammers, right? Scammers are using artificial intelligence to auto dial your number. This is a very common question I get when I'm out there talking to consumers. They say, how did these scammers get my phone number? Well, one of the things they do is they use software to just auto dial people's phone numbers, and they just dial a ton of them. Scammers, again, use artificial intelligence to call you. They'll send emails to you. They'll send it to text message. They'll send you text messages, and I recommend that you ignore anyone contacting you that you don't know, right? You get a phone number that you don't recognize. Instead of hanging up, instead of just hitting the red button, just let it go to voicemail, right? If it's important, they'll leave a voicemail, but more than likely they won't if it's a scammer. And the reason I tell you that is sometimes when you hang up on the call, especially if you don't know who they are, the scammer knows that there's someone on the other side, and they'll save your number, they'll call you again, or they'll take your number and give it to their scam network, and you'll get more calls, right? Again, all done by software, so be very aware of that. The second layer of protection is to do your research, right? Things like verify information, look for the red flags, check credentials, so important. Take that time to do your research, go directly to the official source. You get a text message from someone that says it's your local library, you have an overdue book, and you don't remember checking out a book. Go directly to your library and say, hey, I got a message about an overdue book. Maybe give them a call and verify, right, before you just click on a link or share your information or contact the scammer. Of course, you can always get help, right? You want to ask an employee or a professional in person. That's always the best way to verify. The other thing is to take your time, right? Remember, I talked about scammers try to create that sense of urgency, get you in that tunnel vision. You want to ignore anyone who is threatening you, right? Someone posing as law enforcement saying, we have a warrant for your arrest, or you have a speeding ticket you need to pay for. If they're threatening you, hang up, right? Any legitimate organization is not going to threaten you. If they're trying to give you a limited time offers, like an investment, buy now, this investment's going to the moon, that's a big red flag. If they're telling you to not share this information with others, that's also a big red flag. And of course, if they're asking you for personal or financial information, that's always a big red flag. Ignore those. Take your time, do your research. This next layer of protection, right? Do not share your information or limit the information you share, is more for data breaches, but it kind of applies everywhere. Again, you want to limit the information you share on social media, on websites, forums, communities, emails, sign-up forums, online shopping sites, phone apps, big one here. I do this all the time as well. When you download a new app, sometimes you don't read all the terms and conditions, and you just say accept, accept, and now you're giving it access to your contacts. You're giving it permission to track your geolocation, right? All this information is not stored on your phone. It's stored in the cloud somewhere. And if that company becomes a victim of a data breach, now your geolocation information, your personal information is now out there. And so be very aware before you just download a phone app and start using it. read the terms and conditions, make sure you are aware of how they're going to be using and storing your data. And the other thing to consider is smart devices, right? If you have like smart speakers, like a Google Alexa, or sorry, Amazon Alexa, or the Google speakers, that kind of thing. Sometimes they're always listening, so they might be recording your information. And there are options to turn all that off. So if you have smart devices, that's a way for your information to be collected. And I would recommend you turn those features off so that your information is not there, right? Because when a company suffers a data breach, the more information you've shared, the more you're exposed to things like identity theft. So the next layer of protection, layer 5, talk to someone you trust, right? Talk to a spouse, a friend, community leaders, children that are older, right, 18 years older, financial advisor professionals, anyone you trust. Again, that extra person could give you they could give you an extra perspective and help highlight the red flags that you might have missed, especially if you're moving too fast. And you always want to stay vigilant, right? The last layer of protection, but always important. Staying vigilant, regularly checking your financial accounts, your credit reports. You want to, again, we talked about deleting unused accounts that you don't use anymore, using a shredder to dispose of mail and personal documents, mailing important information directly to like the post office. I know tax season is over, but if you had to mail your tax forms in, you might want to go directly to the post office, do that, or any other kind of forms, right, that might have personal, financial, or important information. Just go directly to the post office, drop it in, because it's very easy for mail thieves to break into mailboxes and steal your mail, get all your personal information out there. Another one here is to, if you're in a public place and using a public computer, make sure to not just close out of your internet browsers, but to log out of the website, right? The story I share here is a story from a student that she shared with me. She was at a college computer lab. She pulled up her email so that she could download some of the important homework that she had. And then when the class was over, she closed out of the web browser and just walked away. The next student that sat down at that computer was able to open up the internet browser and her emails were right there. So luckily that student was good. They didn't have any kind of ill intention, and they just emailed that student and said, hey, be sure to log out your email. I was able to get access to all of this. So again, don't just close your internet browsers, log out of them. Okay. And of course, don't forget to report the incident, right? You want to report the scam to your local authorities, the police, district attorney's office, because oftentimes scammers are not just targeting you individually, they're usually targeting a community or group of individuals. And so sometimes the police, your local law enforcement, or your district attorney's office is actually they might actually have an active investigation, and you're going to provide important information for them to continue that investigation. And of course, there's state authorities like us, the DFPI. There's also the DCA, which is the Department of Consumer Affairs, and the AG, the Attorney General's Office. We also have federal authorities, things like the FBI. They have a website, ic3.gov, which is the Internet Crimes Complaint Center. You can always submit your reports of scams and fraud there. The CFPB, SEC, and the FTC have their own websites, but the one I like to highlight is from the FTC, the Federal Trade Commission. It's reportfraud.ftc.gov. And again, if you've been scammed, you always want to, I know sometimes it's hard to report those scams. One thing I know is that individuals who have become scammed are sometimes very embarrassed and they don't want to share the information. But all these organizations keep your information confidential. So you could start, if it's any kind of broad scam, you could start at usa.gov/where report scams. It's kind of a walkthrough of what kind of scam were you a victim of and where you should go to report it. Again, we talked about the FTC's report fraud website, reportfraud.ftc.gov. And if it's an AI scam specifically, you could always submit a complaint to the DFPI. Our link is there, dfpi.ca.gov/file-a-complaint. The FBI, again, has their ic3.gov. And of course, you could always submit AI scam information to the Federal Trade Commission as well. Okay, a lot of great questions coming in right now. This is the last slide before we go to the Q&A. Just a reminder that the FBI is here to protect you and your community. Please contact us if you observe or have been a victim of a scam, financial fraud, or if you observe or been a victim of abusive business practices, things like predatory lending, right? We want to know and we want to help you. If you observe any kind of elder financial abuse, let us know. We work closely with APS, Adult Protective Services. If you want to report a violation of California financial laws, so the DFPI, we have a lot of different licensees. If one of our licensees, if having problems with them, please contact us. We want to help mediate the issue. And again, if you have any questions about a financial product professional company, you can always call us, right? Our number is 866-275-2677. And there's our link to submit a complaint, dfpi.ca.gov/submit-a-complaint. All right. Q&A. Good. I have 10 minutes to answer questions, and there are a lot of questions. And thank you for that. As a reminder, if you do have a question or comment, please submit it into the Zoom's Q&A feature. I will do my best to get to them all and answer them. First question answered, submitted here. Did I hear you correctly in saying that scammers can replicate a voice from the greeting message I have on my voicemail? The answer is yes. It depends on how long your voicemail is, but like I was saying, voice cloning software is getting really good, and it doesn't need too much voice audio samples. It doesn't need too much audio samples enabled to replicate your voice. It's not completely there yet, but it's getting better. And one of the things that I actually done is I've just taken my personal greeting out. It's just a robot says, please leave, the robotic voice just says, please leave your voice message. I know it's not personable, but what I will say is it's that extra layer of protection. I also hear stories of individuals where when they get a phone call and someone says, is this John Smith? And if you say yes, they'll record that yes, and then they'll use it for certain services that use that audio authentication. So be very careful with that. I say that what you should do is if someone says your name, like, hey, is this John Smith? You could just say speaking, or you could say, who is this, right? But just be very aware of that. They're getting very, very good. And it might be close. That's the thing. Maybe you have a long voice message, and they're able to collect that audio sample and they're able to generate something that's very close to what sounds like your voice. It might sound a little bit off, but what they'll do, scammers, they as in scammers, what scammers will do is they'll create some kind of scenario why it doesn't sound exactly like it. Oh, I have a cold today, or I have bad connection on my cell phone, right? So it kind of sounds like me, but it doesn't sound like me, right? So be very aware of that. Great question though. Next question, is it possible that we obtain a copy of the slides for the presentation? Answer is yes. After this webinar, I will publish the recording to our YouTube channel, and I'm going to email everyone who registered for this webinar a copy of the slides, as well as a link to the webinar, just in case you want to rewatch it or share it with others. Great question. Thank you very much. Next question, what tools and applications are available to detect AI-generated scams? Because training folks on AI threats, what can I do to further, besides training folks on AI threats, what can I do to further protect my company from technical perspective? So there's a lot going on here, but what I would say is there are certain tools out there. It depends on what kind of exposure you have, right? I'd say just do your research, right? I can't give you one silver bullet answer. Some companies are more exposed than others, right? Some that rely a lot on technology, maybe some that rely on like phone calls or customers contacting them directly. Be just very aware of your vulnerable points, right? Your soft points in your company. What I will say this though, and this is because I recently did a webinar about how to protect your business from scams and fraud. Your weakest point in your business is actually your staff. You and your staff is your weakest point. And that's again because scammers are using artificial intelligence to do what we call social engineering. So they may send a email to one of your staff members posing as you, the business owner, and they might even again use voice cloning software to make it seem like it's legitimate. They might use they might try to deep fake a video or a photo of you somewhere, and then again trying to create that sense of urgency. So for most businesses, the largest vulnerability they have is their staff and themselves. And the best thing you could do is train your staff, right? Be very aware of these types of scams. Be very aware of how scammers are using artificial intelligence to attack you, for phishing, for imposter scams, that kind of thing. So great question. I know there's a lot going on here. There's a lot of information, videos on YouTube and etc. that talk more about how scammers are using artificial intelligence. But be very aware of how your business operates and understand those weak points. Great question, though. Very good. Next question. I noticed that you have an identity theft presentation coming soon. Has that presentation been given before? Answer is yes. So if so, is it on YouTube channel? Thank you. So no, we have not. I have not done the identity theft presentation on YouTube yet. But I haven't done the webinar yet. I've done it in person, and I've given workshops on it. So please register. And in fact, as a reminder, our next webinar coming up in July is to protect yourself from identity theft. It'll be at noon, just like this. You want to register, there's the link to it. Click on it. You can register for the webinar. And we'll be talking about identity theft, how scammers get your data, how they use it to pose as you, why they want your information, how they're able to not just pose as you, but also maybe get access to your financial accounts and information, as well as open book accounts in your name. So very important. Protect yourself from identity theft webinar coming very soon, next month. Register for it. Great question. Thank you so much. And I look forward to you joining. Okay, next question. How can I minimize the amount of personal information available online that AI scammers could use to create target attacks? It's a great question. It's a little bit hard, especially if you have a large data footprint, right? If you're on social media, if you do a lot of, like me, I publish a lot of YouTube videos, you have a big footprint on social media or on the internet. And so if you're like me, you have a big footprint, you want to do things to try to protect yourself. So things like putting out a credit freeze, that's again a way to protect yourself from identity theft. Put a credit freeze on your accounts. You also may look into certain services that can help protect you from having your information put on the dark web. If you get any notifications of data breaches, take those very seriously. The other thing you want to do is to, again, all the things we talked about already. So be aware of all the different types of scams out there and how scammers are using artificial intelligence. It's just being informed is kind of the best way. It's hard to claw back all of that information all your personal information, once it's been published on the internet. So just like the last couple questions I was saying, understand your vulnerabilities, right? If you're like me and you have a lot of online accounts, you want to make sure to diversify your usernames and passwords, right? Use two-factor authentication because that's your vulnerable point. So great question. Thank you so much for that. Next question. Wow, there's a lot of great questions. I'm going to kind of fly through these if I can. About investment scams, do you have a list of legit companies that you work with that integrate AI? If so, can you share a few company names? Thank you. I don't know for sure. This is a good question. I don't know for sure. And the other thing is as a state of California, we can't endorse any companies. So let me get back to you. This is a great question. Let me ask my team and see if we have that. I do not know. I honestly don't know if we have a legit list of companies that integrate AI into their products and services. So I can't say for sure. Good question. Let me ask around and see if I can give you a better answer on that. Okay, if we report to county, will you also get the report? The answer is no. There's only a few federal organizations that actually share information back and forth. But this is the thing. Remember how I was saying that when you submit a complaint, whether it's to us, whether it's to the CFPB, the Federal Trade Commission, the FBI, when you submit your information, they're not going to share it with anyone. It's your personal information. So they are going to hold on to it until you kind of give them permission to share it with other agencies. I know it's a lot of work, but it's actually better if you submit it to multiple organizations. They'll all kind of, by the way, they'll very often work together and to say, hey, we're seeing some of this right happening, whether it's an investment scam or maybe if it's a broader type of scam, and they'll try to work with these other agencies, see if there's other investigations going on so they could share broad information, not your personal information, right? So yeah, when you submit those complaints, agencies are not going to share that personal information with each other. They might share broader information, but no. So again, it's better to just submit complaints or file those reports to all the different organizations. Great question. Thank you very much for that. Can we, as a credit union, distribute or display DFPI scam prevention flyers in our branches? Yes, you can. Do we need permission from the DFPI to distribute or display? I don't think so, but get with me. Get with me. Reply back to I'm going to send you an email, a follow-up email. Reply back. Let's connect. I'm happy to give you flyers. We have a Protect Yourself from Fraud one sheet. That's fantastic. We're happy to give that to you, and you can print it off. You can make copies and share it however you want to. We want you to share it. Great. Thank you for joining, and thank you for sharing. Do you believe the company online hiring for cryptocurrency trade? Do you believe the company online hiring for cryptocurrency trading like Telegram or WhatsApp, Bitcoin trading contracts? I would be very skeptical, right? Anybody who is trying to hire you for, and it's not just crypto assets of some sort. I would say anybody who's just trying to, get your information or bring you on board, be very skeptical. Do your research. It's so important, especially when they start asking you for personal information. So yeah, I would be skeptical. Good question. May I send a link to this recording webinar received from you to my friends? Yes, please. We really need this info. I have a friend who has caught and lost almost 2 million. Oh my goodness. I am so sorry to hear that they lost a lot of money. Yes, absolutely. It's one of the reasons why we publish on YouTube. All of our financial education webinars, we want to protect everyone out there. And so, yes, the more they know, the more they're aware of it. Hopefully they can not just protect themselves, but others. So thank you. Thank you for sharing. And you're more than welcome to share the recorded webinar. Yes. Can you please send me a link to the Protect Yourself? Yes, I will send you a link once this webinar is over. Thank you so much. I know we're at 1 o'clock. I'm wrapping up right now. Thank you so much for everyone who's kind of stayed. Last question here. Can an individual who is not licensed realtor register your webinar in the future? Yes, this webinar and all of our financial education webinars are open to anyone and everyone. So the general public, our licensees, anyone, other government agencies, we want you to see this information, again, to better inform yourselves, to protect yourselves, and then, of course, protect your communities. So yes, happy to share all this information. And thank you for sharing it out to others. Can we share the link via our website? Yes, happy to. If you get the YouTube video and there's a link to it, publish it on your own website. You have full permissions to copy the video, to download the video, share it at places, take the video, publish it on your social media, or publish it onto your website, share it. We want everyone to know. Thank you so much. And that is it, by the way. So yes, thank you for joining the webinar. Thank you for being here. And please take care of yourself and each other's. We'll see you in the next one. Goodbye.